Hey guys, it's Joey Gaming and welcome back to another video here on the Joey Gaming channel. In today's video, we have another exec slash student council story time. So I was in this program called the exec. It was basically the student council, but the student council was below the exec. So yeah, anyways, student council does better in the title. That's why I have it in the title, because it does better compared to exec. But that's not the whole point of the video. Today's story time is about the time that my school put on a haunted house, and I was a part of it. Well, it was more of a spook alley, but it's kind of the same thing. By the way, I want to let you guys know that I'm currently creating another exec slash student council story time. I'm trying to make sure I get all the information correct, because it's like the, what's it called? It's like USULC, where there's a lot of information, a lot of photos, a lot of videos I want to share with you guys. So I just want to make sure that all the information's correct. So I'm just doing like several double takes before I go ahead and publish that video. Just want to let you guys know that there's another student council slash exec story time coming out. But anyways, let's get right into the video. Before I say anything else, I just want to give you guys a bit of context of what my school looks like. So my school is really, really old. It was built back in the late 1930s, early 1940s in response to the Great Depression. At the time, Congress passed a bill, an infrastructure bill, that would build power plants, dams, and schools, right, to help get the United States out of the Great Depression. And part of that bill included my school. So my school was built in response to the Great Depression. So my school is like basically like 70 to 80 years old, basically, and even possibly 90. I don't know. I'm not good at math. So I don't know, around that time, basically. And anyway, so our school is super, super old, and there is an old part and a new part to my school. The old part has an old gym and this long hallway, right? And the new part includes a new cafeteria, a new gym, and a library with a few other classes, right? The new part's not as important, right? So we're only going to be talking about the old part in today's story time. What you got to understand is that the old school had a more older system of heating up the school. Obviously, back in the 1930s and 40s, you didn't have thermostats, right? And they had to use a boiler system, right? And I'm pretty sure it has been updated over the years, but it's still a pretty old system, right? So I'm not sure if it was powered by gas or if it was powered by wood pellets or coal or anything, but there's this boiler room underneath the school, right? And there's these vents, right, that are connected up. And each classroom in the old part of the school has these blue has these blue heaters. And in the wintertime, the school would turn on the boiler, right? And then the heat will go throughout the school, heating up the old part of the school. It wasn't as efficient as modern day heating systems, but it gets the job done. You just have to wait like half an hour to 45 minutes before the school gets warm, because it's not as new as the newer systems, because it's a boiler room. It's run by a boiler, and that heat has to go around and travel around the place through different heaters to all the other classrooms. So it just takes time, right? The reason why this is important is that there's like these small little tunnels, right, to get to the boiler room. And there's also, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently you can also access the vents. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I just heard it where you can actually access the vents to clear it out, just in case a student drops like a pencil or something in the heater and they need to go grab it or whatever. So I don't know so if that's true, but I know that you can access the boiler room, so you can I don't know, give it like gas or coal or wood pellets. I don't know how that thing's powered. It's just an old boiler system. So anyways, we have these like small tunnels, right? Fast forward to modern day, there are these conspiracy theories going around the whole school saying, oh, the school has these secret tunnels underneath the school that go to the elementary school, middle school, and school district. Obviously, none of that is true, right? And I'll tell you why. But anyways, there's these conspiracy theories, and kids were claiming that there were tunnels underneath the high school, right, that go to the elementary, middle school, and the school district, right? Keep in mind that none of that is true. It's just a bunch of school rumors that a bunch of people made up because, you know, because that's what teenagers do. They make a bunch of rumors up about things that are not true, right? Because if you really think about it, it doesn't make sense why my school would have tunnels connecting all the schools together, you know? It just wouldn't make sense. You know, this is not Washington, D.C., where there's actually a national security purpose for doing that. It just doesn't make sense, you know? So, spoiler alert, there is no tunnels underneath the school. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the new part of the school. Since that my school built a new part of the school in like 2011, 2012, that's when we built the new part of the school. Instead of having the cafeteria downstairs, and when I mean like downstairs, it's like in the same area of where the boiler rooms are. Underneath, there's also like a few storage rooms and an area to access under the stage. But that's about it. Anyways, the old cafeteria, which is underneath the old part of the school, was extremely small. I'll get to the reason why I know that in a little bit. But the old cafeteria is super small, and when they built the new part of the school, they also built a new cafeteria as well, which is underneath the library. The library was on top. My school had like 2 floors, if you're not counting the basement. And they continued that trend by giving the new part 2 floors. So there was a cafeteria, and upstairs there was a library on top. So that was how it was. And what they did is that the old part, the old cafeteria, they turned that into a storage room. So over the years, faculty and teachers would put like desks and chairs and tables and all sorts of other stuff that you would expect in schools down there, right? And it was just a storage room, right? That's gonna be very important later. I'll get to that in a little bit. So anyways, long story short, the school is super old. They built a new one, right? There's conspiracy theories that there's tunnels underneath the school connecting all the schools together, and that's the context that you guys need to actually know. With the context out of the way, let's actually start the story time. It starts in September of 2021 when I was on the exec. In first hour, the exec have this class where they sit around this big table and they plan out how they were going to do dances, events, and just talk about how we're going to make the school a better place, you know? And I will talk about this more in my upcoming exec/student council story time, so keep an eye out for that. I'll put a card on the top right of that said video once it's released. We're actually going more detail about about how we did the exec stuff in that story time. But anyways, we sit around this big table, right? And this was shortly after homecoming week, right? Or during homecoming week. I'm not exactly sure. It's around then in September. Mrs. Government, right, which is our exec/student council supervisor. She was supposed to supervise us to make sure that we're not destroying the school or something, you know? So anyways, we decided that, hey, we got to do something for Halloween. And we talked about doing a Halloween dance, right? And we talked about doing a few other things. I think we mentioned a trunk or treat too, but we decided not that. And what we ended up doing was a haunted house/spook alley. For those that don't know what a haunted house or spook alley is, a haunted house or spook alley is a attraction that you show up to, right? And you would walk through these rooms and hallways, right? And actors or animatronics will go out and scare you, right? And they would have props. It's basically like a scary thing that you walk through, and actors and clown masks and zombies and all sorts of stuff would like scare you and stuff. My grandpa actually did one of those haunted houses, and I actually made a story time talking about that, which I'll link on the top right. Don't watch it right now. Watch it after this video, because you're gonna ruin my I don't know what's it called, my viewer attention if you do that. So don't do that yet. But anyways, I had a lot of experience doing haunted houses, growing up with haunted houses, especially my grandpa's haunted houses, right? Honestly, if it wasn't for my grandpa, I wouldn't be a big person in horror. I love horror because of my grandpa, so shout out to my grandpa. He's amazing, and I will talk about him in a little bit. So anyways, we decided to do this spook alley, and we also had a Halloween dance that we're going to go to, but it wasn't really put up. It wasn't by the exec. We actually had a Latinos in Action Club in our school, and they were going to actually set up the dance, but we're also going to be there to help support them, and also we're going to promote it. I also ran the social media for my school too, which I will go ahead and talk about in a little bit. So anyways, we talk about this we talk about this haunted house in this spooky alley, and we decided that we're gonna do it in the old cafeteria, which is underneath the old part of the school, right? And Mrs. Government wasn't sure if we could use it, so she had to go ahead and email the faculty, the principal, or even the superintendent. I don't really remember. Just one of those guys, right? And to get permission. And a few days later, we get the A-OK that, hey, yeah, we can use the old cafeteria, right? However, Mrs. Government told us, saying, hey, we got to go ahead and move some of the tables downstairs and move the tables or chairs downstairs. Because keep in mind, the old cafeteria was turned into a storage room, right? Where they put a bunch of tables and chairs and stuff underneath, right? And what happened is that there was quite a bit of a debate going around in the school, right? Between the teachers and faculty, because you had some teachers that didn't want the chairs and tables be thrown away because they can be used in their classrooms. And there's some other teachers who be like, oh yeah, throw it away. It's a bunch of junk. We don't need all those, right? We can just throw it away, right? And there was just this big debate between teachers, right? Oh, we should keep it. No, we should throw it away, right? And eventually, what happened is that the whole school decided, the school faculty decided, hey, you know what? We're gonna salvage the stuff that can be salvaged, that can be used. Like if it's in good enough condition, then we'll save it. We'll save it and put it in our classrooms. But if it's like destroyed or not in good condition, then we would throw it in the junkyard, right? And so that's what happens. We go down to the old cafeteria, right? Mrs. Government had a key, so she had to unlock it, right? And we started exploring this whole place, and it shocked me going down to this old basement. Actually, I've been in the basement before. I actually been in the old cafeteria before, but that's a different story time. So I've been here before, and it was small. It's extremely small. It's like a little bit bigger than an average classroom, I would say. It's just small, right? And the kitchen was small too, right? Keep in mind, this school used to be a small school, and the reason they had to build a new part is because of the school was expanding, and that's the reason why they built a new one, right? And built a whole new cafeteria. So it's a small cafeteria, but anyways, there's these tables and chairs stacked all nicely and stuff, all neatly, right? And we go ahead, and Mrs. Government be like, okay, yeah, we can go ahead and salvage that. We can go ahead and throw this one away, right? Yeah, there was also these like tiny little chairs from like the elementary school, right, which we thought was cute, right? So anyways, what we did is that Mrs. Government, right, had her son drive up to the school in their truck, right, which is the same truck that that Mr. Government took me to get service in my next video that I'm going to talk about. Just go ahead and point that out. So anyways, the Mrs. Government's son drives up, right? He's also in the exec too. I don't know what position he was in. Probably could check in my yearbook, but I'm not going to do that. Anyways, the truck loads up, and we carry these tables and these chairs, and we load them up on the back of this truck, right? And I'm not sure if we put tarps over them or rope or anything. I didn't go to the junkyard. I just helped load, and I just helped just load stuff up, really. Anyways, we load stuff up in the trucks, and the trucks, well, there wasn't multiple trucks, there was one truck. Anyways, the truck goes back and forth between the junkyard, and eventually we were done throwing away everything, right? And we did salvage a few chairs, a few tables, right? Or we sent them to a few classrooms, I'm not sure, but there were some tables, there were some chairs left over, right, that we actually kind of used to our advantage. So yeah, that was what was going on. So anyways, after we cleaned up the cafeteria, we discussed on what we want to do. We started planning out what we're going to do as well. At the same time, I also made several Instagram posts. You see, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my previous story times, but I was the media director. I was in charge of my school's social media, and primarily I had an Instagram account that had about like 2,000 followers, maybe just shy of that. I don't know, I don't remember. It just had like thousands of followers on it. So I made several posts. I'll share the posts on the screen right now. I made the story post. How I like to do the advertisements is that I do one single Instagram post, right? like a post, and then I do a story post, right? And that's how I do stuff, right? So anyways, I make a story post. Another girl on the exec made another post, right? And I go ahead and I post those. I give it a caption. And for my marketing, I decided to put down explore the tunnels underneath the school. And I thought that was a smart idea. Saying, hey, I'm taking advantage of the conspiracy theories in my school to bring people over. So anyways, I made the posts, right? Mrs. Government also wanted a form that people wanted to fill out so they can have actors. She doesn't want just the student council and the exec to be in the scare house scaring people. She also wanted students that wanted to scare other students to come and join as well. So she tasked me on making a form. And I honestly thought, okay, well, a form could be like a Google form, right? So anyways, I create this Google form, right? And I had some basic questions on there saying, hey, what's your phone number, what's your name, and what's your school email? And that's about it. I show it to Mrs. Government. She says that she doesn't like it because apparently because I used Google Forms. You see, my school uses the Microsoft programs, right? So we use like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all the other stuff, right? And we don't really use like Google Docs or Google Forms. I made it in Google Forms because as a content creator, I use like Google Forms to get like surveys on my YouTube channel from like Discord and a few other places. So I just primarily use Google Forms. So I was more experienced on doing that, right? But she told me to remake it like using Microsoft Forms. And the reason why she wanted me to do it through Microsoft Forms was that she's worried that kids from the middle school or elementary school were going to sign up. We're going to sign up to be a part of the scare house, and she doesn't want that. And it's like, okay, well, all right. If you want me to make a Microsoft form, then I'll go ahead and make a Microsoft form. And the Microsoft form, I don't know. There was just less features in the Microsoft form compared to the Google Forms. Like, you couldn't do everything, but I was able to make it, and I made it so you actually had to sign in with an email with your school account, which, if you really think about it, wouldn't really stop anyone from the middle school from signing up, really, because you get a Microsoft email in elementary school and you use it throughout your whole school career, right? So it wouldn't really stop anyone, but I don't know, maybe she was trying to stop random people from like other schools from like signing up. I don't know. She just wanted me to make it through Microsoft Forms, and that's what I ended up doing. So anyways, I go ahead and I post that link to the link tree, which, if you don't know what a link tree is, it's like a place where you can have multiple links on there. Anyways, I post it to a link tree and I tell people, hey guys, click the link in the bio. If you want to help out in the haunted house, go click the link in the bio and fill out the form. And that's what I post on the Instagram that I was running for the school, and that's what happened. And then the next day, we were around the big table again discussing what we're gonna do. And I mentioned the fact that my grandpa used to do haunted houses and Halloween spook alleys, and that my grandpa had a lot of props. He doesn't do it anymore because he's a little older and he doesn't have the energy to go ahead and create haunted houses anymore. So he has a bunch of props laying around and animatronics and stuff, and I mentioned it, and everyone on the exec was excited about it, and they're like, okay, that's cool, right? So anyways, after school's over, give grandpa a call, and he was down. And I messaged Mrs. Government, like, hey, yeah, my grandpa's totally cool with you guys coming to pick up his props. So anyways, the next day of school happens, and the exec, right, all carpool down to my grandpa's house, and they get a bunch of props. My grandpa was there. He was helping us out, saying, oh, this is going to be great. This will look great. And he was giving us suggestions and stuff, and it was awesome. Anyways, we went back to the school, right, and we start setting up the haunted house. And keep in mind, this was all in first period because the exec class was in the first period. So we had like, at this point, like half an hour to go ahead and set everything up. Maybe like 20 minutes, really. So anyways, we start setting everything up. And the whole idea is that what we're going to do is that the kids, right, the students are going to start from outside the school, right? And they're going to go downstairs to the kitchen, right? You can access the kitchen from outside. There were stairs that led to the kitchen. So anyways, the kids will go down the stairs, right, to the kitchen, right? And we're gonna have like a doctor's office and stuff, right? And like a little bit of a torture chamber, right? And then they would go over here to this like cabinet area that led to the tunnel that would lead to the boiler room kind of there, right? And there were like mirrors and stuff, and I don't know, we had a mirror room too, which was crazy. Then they would go through there. We had like an Egyptian room, and then we would get to a polka dot room, right, where there would be one guy dressed in all black with polka dots, and the walls are black, and they have polka dots too. So the guy would blend in, and he would go out and scare them, right? But then we would have a cardboard tube, right? And what we would do is that we would make people get on their hands and knees and crawl through this cardboard tube while we bang on the cardboard box and stuff, and we would scare them, and they would come out, right? And yeah. So, anyways, what I did is that well, it was really my grandpa's. It was actually my grandpa that helped me out. What he did is that he came over the next day. This was not all on the same day. On the same day when they picked up the stuff from my grandpa's house, they were just still in the planning phase, and they set up the walls, but that's about it, not really the decorations. So anyways, the next day, my grandpa comes, he got permission from Mrs. Government to come to the school, right? And he starts helping out, right? And he was helping out with setting up the alarms and bells and stuff. You see, my grandpa has a lot of these bells and alarms and these whistles, right, that can scare the living crap out of people, and they're insanely loud. So anyways, we have this air compressor, right? It was like quiet enough where you couldn't hear it, right, in the school because of everything else going on. So anyways, what we did is we hooked up these alarms, and we also have a school bell. We also have these this other like whistle thing, right? And we hooked it up to this this control panel, right? And some of the controls work, some of them don't. So I had to label them, saying, "Hey, this one works, this one doesn't work," and eventually made it work, right? And that was awesome. What we ended up doing is that I had a bell at the very beginning in the doctor's office, right? And then I had an alarm like in the middle, kind of like in the polka dot area. Well, before the polka dot area, leaving the Egyptian room, you have to go through the doll room on the looks of things. So there's a doll room you have to walk through, right? And that was there. There was a doll room you have to go through, and I put the alarm right there because you're not expecting an alarm in the doll room. And then I put like another bell, oh, not a bell, like a whistle thing somewhere else. I don't quite remember. I think I put it like in the end. We also had this wheelchair, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna have it at the end of this, like at the end of the tunnel. And what we're gonna do is someone with the wheelchair is gonna scare them, right? They're gonna chase them with the wheelchair and scare them up through the through another stairway out of the cafeteria. So that's what the whole plan was. So anyways, my grandpa helps me set it up. We test it, and it was really, really cool, and that's what happened. So yeah. A few days leading up to the haunted house or the spook alley, I decided that, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do an Instagram Q&A. And what I do is, if you don't know what an Instagram Q&A is, it's like a little box where people can, it's like a little box you put on your story, right? And then people can respond back, and then you can respond as a story to that question. So anyways, I go to Mrs. Government, she'd okayed it. As long as she sees the questions first, I can go ahead and respond to them and post it, and that's what happened. So I made a Instagram Q&A, say, hey guys, what would you guys like to know about the spook alley, right? And a few hours later, I respond to the questions. I'll put some of the questions up on your screen right now. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then the actual night at the haunted house starts, and this is what happened. So it started off slow, but then again, more and more people showed up, right? And it was really, really awesome. And what I didn't really have a costume per se. I wasn't really scaring people like a monster. I was the guy controlling the bells, whistles, and the alarms, right? And I was also banging on the cardboard tunnel that was there. Anyways, what I would do is that I would have my jacket on the ground, because what I would do is after I would scare people with the alarms and bells and stuff, I would jump down, and the floor, right, it was hard, right? It was made of some sort of tile, right? And when I jumped down, you can hear a thud, right? And I said, okay, shoot, I gotta figure out how to dampen it. So what I would do, I have this jacket. It was a Disney jacket, right? I would drop the Disney jacket on the ground, and I would jump down and land on it, and that would muffle my the noise of me landing. And then after that, I would get to the tunnel and I would bang on it, right? And it was so awesome. Like, people getting scared by the bell. People didn't get scared by the bell, but they definitely did get scared of the alarm, right? So once they get into the doll room and I could see them, I turn on the alarm and that would scare the crap out of them, and I got a really couple good scares, honestly. I scared a couple people, right? And then people would walk through the tunnel, right? They would have to get on their hands and knees and walk through the cardboard tunnel that we had. And the cardboard tunnel was full of spiders and skeletons and stuff. And it was all black too, right? So we had all that going on. Also, we had a couple fog machines from my grandpa too. So we had those running. Not in the tunnel because I'm pretty sure that's dangerous. But like outside of the tunnel, right? So we had like fog machines going, so it was like all spooky and stuff. And after I was all done with the bells and whistles and stuff, I would like bang on the tunnel like that, but a lot more extreme, right? And I would also say some creepy stuff saying, "I'm going to find you, I'm going to come after you." Then I would have this creepy laugh, right? It actually impressed some of the people on the exec. Like, "Wow, Joey, holy crap, you're terrifying." And it's like, yeah, I am pretty scary. Like, there's a reason why girls don't like me. I don't know if I made that joke, but I said, yeah, I'm pretty scary sometimes. And that's what happened. It was a great haunted house. A bunch of people went through. Mrs. Government was impressed with the amount of people that showed up, right? And I was happy because I was able to scare people again, because growing up in my grandpa's haunted houses, I loved going ahead and scaring people because it was my favorite thing to do out there. Anyways, guys, we have reached the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is the second ever story time video of me being on the exec, if you do not count the USULC videos, the part 2 and 3 videos. Once again, guys, I will have more videos coming out about the student council coming out very, very soon. I have a lot of great stories that I can't wait to tell you guys. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and see ya. Peace.